Hello and welcome to the red card Phyrexia All Will Be One set review portion of the set reviews. That's what's going on in this one. Quick refresher for people who don't know what's going on with the tiers. I like to put the tiers up on the screen just before we get started. People can read. I'm not gonna go through all of them and be like, hey, this is exactly what this means, and these cards are this. Essentially, tier 1 is the best, tier 4 is the worst. There are other systems that people like for doing this. This is my system that I have. That's kind of it. I don't have any other tier stuff. I'm kind of blocking a little bit of text there. You're going to be like, why are you blocking this text? Because I'm not a professional. That's why. Professionalism is dead. That's what's happening here. You'll never get to know what it says. You'll be wondering for the rest of your life what the text might be saying on the top left part of the screen, but you'll never know. And that's just something you're going to have to deal with. All right. Anyways, on to the cards. This is for limited as well. Also, just as something to note. Don't. I'm not talking about constructed. Nobody. I don't care about any of that. This is not a constructed safe space. We don't protect those individuals here. All right. First card in red. All will be one. 3 red for an enchantment. Whenever you put one or more counters on a permanent or player, all will be one. Deals that much damage to target opponent, creature opponent controls, or planeswalker opponent controls. So we're starting off with the name of the set. The name of the set is what the card is. I don't, that's the joke or whatever. It's like a joke. So first of all, you're kind of in limited. This is sort of a difficult card to rate, right? So I see the card and I'm like, all right, it's terrible because it's a 5-mana enchantment that doesn't do anything. Now, if you build around it, it can kind of do stuff, and that's great. Let's sort of walk through what it does, right? So let's say you untap with this, which you do sometimes. It's turn probably 6. You're on 5 mana. You're probably not getting to 5 lands on turn 5 most of the time. It's probably turn 6 or turn 7 when you cast this. So you have to somehow be ahead on board and then also be wanting to cast this and not instead just trying to press your advantage. I don't know. I'm pretty out on the card generally. You untap it and it's like, all right, I'll cast a thing that proliferates. Well, you're only putting one counter. Now, if you can put a counter on 3 different things, and then you're dealing 3 damage. It turns all your proliferate stuff into damage, but then you have stuff that's on the battlefield because you just spent 5 mana doing nothing. I'm out on this card. I'm sure somebody could convince me that this card's good. I'm very out on this card, and maybe my sins will be punished. Maybe I'll be punished for my sins, but I think that generally it's just going to be tough for this to do stuff in limited. Next, awaken the sleeper. The sleeper needs to be awakened, and so this is the threaten effect in red for this set, and so it's a 4 mana 3 in a red for a sorcery that you gain control of target creature until end of turn. You untap it, it gains haste. If it's equipped, you may destroy all equipment attached to it, which is text that should not be relevant because nobody's going to be playing equipment because equipment is bad. All the equipment's bad, so. This shouldn't matter at all. I don't know. But this card is a combo card, basically. You don't want to be playing it unless you're playing the black-red stack thing. There are outlets in red-black that are free, so this can do the thing. You can be advised. This does do the thing. But it's generally just not something you want in every deck. So just be advised about it. Be advised about its existence. All right, next is Axiom Engraver. It is a 2-mana 1/3. It enters a battlefield with 2 oil counters on it, and you can tap to remove an oil counter from it, and you discard a card and draw a card. So this is pretty standard, tier 3 thing. It's basically just a strict downgrade from the one in Dominaria United that was a 2/2 that did this as a goblin. This is worse than that one, in my opinion. Doesn't have infinite ability to do that. It probably functionally does, usually most of the time, but whatever. That card wasn't very good. This card's not going to be very very good. It's fine. It's playable. It's not completely embarrassing. If you're playing like a shell that's more controlling in red, a thing that I'm not sure that you're ever doing, it can do stuff. But again, not a thing that I'm sure is ever happening. Next, Barbed Batter Fist. 1 in a red for a equipment. It has the Formidable text on it. Equipped creature gets +1/-1. It's 1 to equip. So this is like the closest to playable the red and white equipment have been so far. Like this thing makes a 2-mana 3/1, which is nice. That's a nice little thing that also comes with like some value later on in the game. Basically, the joke is that you want to try to find a way to turn this into Skull Clamp, or it sucks. But that's going to be really difficult to do. like the later on equipment, it is fine. Like this is the one that is the most interesting to me, and it still is not that interesting. Like it still is like, all right, this is actually like kind of playable. This is like an average card, and you can play this in like an aggressive deck, and you're like, okay, fine. But it's just so hard to imagine this. Like, this is a little annoying. The equip being 1. The equip being 1 makes it, like, possible that this is actually decent. But, yeah, I'm pretty low on the equipment until proven otherwise. Next, Bladegraft Aspirant. 2 in a red for a 2/3 menace. Equipment spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, and activated abilities of equipment you control that target this creature cost 1 less to activate. Yeah, I don't know. Again, like any card that has like equipment text on it I'm going to consider to be bad until it's proven to me that the equipment is actually decent in this set. I don't think that will be proven to me, but it could happen. And then, yeah, I don't know. It's just like a 2-mana, 3-mana, 2/3 menace most of the time, and that card's not very good, but it's like playable. Next, Blazing Crescendo. 1 in a red for an instant. Target creature gets +3/+1 until end of turn. And you can exile the top card of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play that card. So this, I think, is fantastic. This is another example of a combat trick that just guarantees get your card advantage. It actually gets you card advantage more than the white one does at the same cost. Now it is +3/+1, which is great, which means you sometimes can save your thing, but usually you're probably just trading up. But it gets you the card back. It can hit your opponent in the face. It triggers all your like instant stuff. I think this card's pretty good. I think this is a very solid trick. I think this is really good. This is going to be one you're certainly going to have to watch out for early in the format when people aren't playing around it properly. So, yeah, I really like this card. Next, Cacophony Scamp. Single red mana for a 1/1. When it deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice it if you do proliferate. And when it dies, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. So that first line of text doesn't really matter very often because, like, you're never really going to be at a point where you can sacrifice it to, like, do the stuff. It'll probably come up sometimes. But yeah, in the format that is all about 1-drops, this is a decent 1-drop. This one is... Like, it just like, you know, you can pump it and deal, like, 5 damage to something. You can pump it with that combat trick that we were just talking about right here and just sort of do... Like, you can make it deal a bunch of damage. You can, like, get a 2-for-1 because that combat trick even, like, draws a card. So you actually are getting a 2-for-1, unlike a lot of times where you're not getting a 2-for-1. Like, it does a lot. It fits nicely into what Red's trying to do. It doesn't do any of the toxic stuff. It does wear equipment well if you have equipment that you want to play. It notably does not wear the +1/-1 equipment at all, ever. Although I guess you could equip it and then just be like, all right, deal 2, right? You just be like, all right, equip, deal 2. That's not the worst. You can turn your equipment into like a damage spell. It's fine. All right, next. Capricious Hellraiser. 3 and 3 red mana for a 4/4 flyer. It costs 3 less to cast if you have 9 or more cards in your graveyard, which is never going to happen in this format. When Capricious Hellraiser enters the battlefield, exile 3 cards at random from your graveyard, choose a non-creature non-land card from one, then may copy it. You may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. So this is mostly just like a 6 mana 4/4 flyer. And then it also comes with something else, but like it's random and it's probably like a 2 or 3 drop in most cases of limited. Like I think you're playing this for 6 mana more than you're playing it for 3. And also, like, when you're playing it for 3, it doesn't really matter. Like, it probably is sticking for whole turn, so it doesn't really matter that it costs 3. It's 3 red, so you can't cast any of the red spells that turn, most likely. This card's just hard to cast, and that's sort of what's hurting it a little bit. But I think it's fine. I don't think there's anything, like, special about it. But it's decent. Next, Chimney Rabble. 3 and a red for a 3/3 with haste. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 red Phyrexia Goblin creature token. Yeah, this is just great. I think this is actually you just get a lot here. Like 4 mana, 3/3 haste, make a 1/1. Like, it's nice. 2 bodies for like sacrifice things. The haste, good. It probably attacks. Like on turn 4, this probably attacks, right? You can probably get an attack in, and if you trade with their 3 drop, it's not that bad for you because you still are left with the 1/1, so you get the second half of the card. Like, yeah, it's pretty simple. I think this card's just good. Next, Churning Reservoir. Single red mana for an artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, put an oil counter on another target non-token artifact or creature you control. You can pay 2 and tap it, and you create a 1/1 red Phyrexia Goblin creature token. Activate only if an oil counter was removed from a permanent you controlled this turn, or a permanent with an oil counter was put into a graveyard this turn. This just turns into an engine really fast, I think. Compared to the other two, like, 1-drop things, I think this one is really the best of them. I guess there's the green one as well. I haven't thought about the green one. And compared to the blue and the black one, I think this is the best one because it is it's enabling all your other stuff that you want to be doing in red. Like, it puts oil counters on a bunch of stuff, which actually I think is probably better in blue and black than it is in red. Like, I think you actually like want the oil counters on your blue stuff more than you want it on your red stuff. But it works really well with those things. Getting on the board early is nice. Like, it doesn't really do that, but like eventually in like the late game, you're pretty much just like turning this into its own engine where it's like, all right, remove an oil counter, make a 1/1. Remove an oil counter every turn, make a 1/1. That's nice. That's strong because the oil counter is also doing something else on the creature that you're giving it to, right? So I think this is a nice little engine here. Next, Dragonwing Glider. 3 red for an equipment. It has 4 Mirrodin, and a creature has +2/+2 and has flying and haste, and it's equipped for 3 red. Yeah, this is actually good. This equipment's very good because it makes a 5 mana 4/4 flyer, which is just a great card at base rate. It's fine. And then after the opponent deals with it, you are either left with a 2/2 or an equipment that makes a flyer. So, yeah, it's fantastic. Just really good. It's hard to, like, eventually the 5 to equip makes the thing relevant later on. So it's good. It's decent. Next, Exuberant Fuseling. 1 red mana for an 0/1 trample. It gets +1/+0 for each oil counter on it. When it enters the battlefield, and whenever another creature or artifact you control is put into graveyard from the battlefield, put an oil counter on it. So basically it's a 1 mana 1/1 with trample. I don't know. I mean, like, it's fine. Like, it presents threats to grow later on into the game. But I think people are going to have ways to interact with this. Again, the format of 1-drops, this is not going to match up very well against other 1-drops specifically. It's just like one of the other 1-drops blocks it. Yeah, they take 2 damage or like 3 damage, and that's fine. Like, I don't know. I'm not super high on this card. I think it's too easy to deal with in the set. And like the oil counter stuff, this doesn't use them very well. Next, Forgehammer Champion. This is a nice one. 2 and a red for a 3/2. When another creature or artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put an oil counter on it. And whenever it attacks, you may remove 2 oil counters from it. When you do, target creature can't block this turn. This is like your most tier 3 red card ever. You know what I mean? Like, there's no card that exemplifies tier 3 more than this card. It's like very average. Just does very average things. The sack payoff thing I don't think is really helping it at all. It makes the opponent's stuff not block, but I don't know. This isn't enabling like a huge attack because you have to like sack a bunch of stuff to get it online, and you have to like kind of only really fits in red black, and it sucks because it does not great, but it's like just serviceable card. Next, Free from Flesh. Single red mana for an instant, and you target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. You put 2 oils counters on it. So, I think that this card is mostly going to be frustrating because a lot of times you're not going to want to target the thing that you want to put the counters on. Like, you can just use this as 1 mana and make 2 oil counters sometimes, but when it does what it aspires to do, it's great because it is providing you, like, the combat trick is going to provide you value later on in the game. But I think it misses too often. Like, I think there's just too many cards where you're like, this didn't do enough. Like, I guess you can, actually, it's just so hard. It's just so hard for this to do all of the things it needs to do. Just 1 mana +2/+2 isn't very good. It's just not. It is. One's a lot less than 2. So, like, I am thinking about that, where it's like, okay, is the fact that this is 1 mana enough to make it, like, good compared to, like, some of the other stuff? And I'm like, maybe. I don't know. It remains to be seen. This could be top tier, but I'm starting low on it. Next, Furnace Punisher. 2 and a red for a 3/3 menace. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, it deals 2 damage to that player unless they control 2 or more basic lands. So it basically doesn't really do anything in limited. Very occasionally, your opponent will play like a sphere on turn 1, and then they'll play a basic on turn 2 and they'll play, and this will hit them for 2 exactly 1 time. Sure, that's fine. 3 mana, 3/3 menace is just good rate by itself, though, so it's nice. It is going to be difficult to block, and it's annoying. So that's all she wrote. Next, Furnace Strider. 4 and a red for a 4/5. It enters the battlefield with 2 oil counters on it. And you can remove an oil counter from it and target a creature you control gains haste. So this thing probably always has haste, right? But how good is a 5 mana 4/5 haste? Not especially impressive. Generally, you can give a lot of stuff haste. But at the stage of the game that you're at, are you really going to want to be playing a 5 mana 4/5? Like, are you really going to want to give your stuff haste? And the answer is like, oh, probably not. Like, how much stuff do you have left when you're casting this that if you're playing a red deck, you're happy to be playing, right? I don't know. I don't think very much. That's sort of my take. So it's sort of like, it's just hard for this, again, it's sort of hard for this to do all of the stuff it aspires to do, right? Next, Gleeful Demolition. That's single red mana, sorcery, destroy target artifact. If you control that artifact, you create 3 1/1 goblin tokens. Phyrexians are not artifacts. Interesting. That makes them a lot worse. They're still fine. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, this is nice. There are going to be a number of artifacts running around, and you can, in red, you should have enough stuff that this does something where it turns your artifact into 3 things. You should have like triggers, and you can have like sack stuff going on, and like if yeah. I think this is just decent, right? Like, I think this is just a decent card. So, yeah. Next, Hazardous Blast. 3 and a red for sorcery. It deals 1 damage to each creature your opponent's control. Creatures your opponent's control can't block this turn. Cards like this are usually not very good because they are either winning you the game or they do absolutely nothing at all. And so and the times they do absolutely nothing at all are too high. So that's all there's to say about this. Next, Hexgold Halberd. 1 and a red for an equipment. It has 4 mirrored in it, and as long as your turn, the creature has first strike and trample. So this is like decent, right? Like this is a 2 mana. This is basically just a 2-drop, and it gives your thing first strike and trample on your turn. But the equip cost is 3. It's 2 mana red, and that's just too much. You can't be paying this much to equip your things, especially in a format where removal is so efficient. You just can't do that. There's never going to be a time in the game where you're like happy to pay 3 to equip this. You're going to be like, just like I'm spending like half my turn doing this on like turn 6. It's like it's just not good enough. So I don't know. I'm pretty down on all of these, especially the ones that are expensive to equip. Next, Hexgold Slash. Single red mana for an instant, deals 2 damage to target creature. If that creature has toxic, it deals 4 damage instead. We've seen this effect many times before, and it's always good. This one is slightly worse than some of the other ones we've seen in the past, like the one from Neon Dynasty, where you could sacrifice an artifact to deal 4. This is, I think, worse than that because it doesn't have it doesn't enable your own stuff. It sort of more is just getting rid of certain things from your opponents. It doesn't matter. Its efficiency is still very good. So it doesn't go face, unfortunately, but it is what it is. This is always good. Next it is Koth, Fire of Resistance, 2 red for a Planeswalker with 4 loyalty. Its +2 is search your library for a basic mountain, and then you can put it in your hand, and then -3 is it deals damage to a target creature equal to the number of mountains you control, which is often 2 or 3 damage, at least when you're playing this on turn 4. If you play it later on in the game, it's like maybe 4 or 5 damage, but probably it's not really ever more than that. That's good. That's obviously a good ability. And you can pay 7 and you get an emblem that gives you a bunch of stuff when mountains enter the battlefield. Which honestly, I think is kind of what you want to be doing with Koth. I think generally what you actually want to do is just go plus minus. Plus ultimate is what you kind of aspire to do with Koth, because then you're doing the thing. You start dealing 4 to everything, and your Koth is still alive. So I don't know. Seems decent to me. It's not one of those planeswalkers that just instantly takes over the game though. Yes, obviously your opponent's got to kill it and whatnot, but there's plenty of answers to these in the set, and it's fine. It's good. Next, Kuldotha Cackler. 2 in a red for a 2/3 trample, and when it attacks, it gets +0/+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of permanents you control with oil counters on them. So this card has the potential to be very good, and I'm acknowledging that in advance. That maybe I just don't know. You know what I mean? This is one of those cards that once you play with it in the set, the 17 lands data will tell you how good this card is. That's what this card is, right? I'm starting it off low because I think that requiring to have other stuff for this to be good is usually not where you want to be. But this is certainly a card that can and will jump up quickly in how early you pick it, based on how easy it is to have this be a 5/3 trample on turn 4 or turn 5. And that maybe is just real. Maybe that's just a real thing that happens a lot. So next, Magmatic Sprinter. 2 in a red for a 3/2 haste. When it enters the battlefield, you put 2 oil counters on target artifact or creature you control. At the beginning of your end step, return this to your hand, unless you can remove 2 oil counters from it. So basically, you can either keep it in play for an extra turn or put oil counters on something and come back to your hand. It just gets really expensive really quickly. I'm very out on this card. I think that there are easier proliferate. This is just bad proliferate. Wouldn't you rather have a card that just says wouldn't you rather have the blue instant that just proliferates instead of this? I don't know. This is technically a double proliferates, but then you have to it's 3 mana and you're returning it to your hand, and then yes, you theoretically get to attack, but in the mid game, your opponent just goes, okay, I have a 2/2 on board, I'll block, and then you're oh, it's just it doesn't do the thing. So yeah, I don't know. Next, Molten Rebuke, 4 in a red for a sorcery. You can deal 5 to target creature or planeswalker, and you can destroy target equipment. This type of card is usually not very good, and I don't see any reason why it would be good in this deck. It's a little unclear. Not sure. But I mean, thank God it targets equipment. I was so scared of the equipment in this set that I was willing to pay 5 mana to destroy it. I mean, let's not be mean to the card. Next, Nahiri's Sacrifice, another absolute banger. 1 in a red for a sorcery. It is no cost to cast it. Sacrifice an artifact creature with mana value X. It deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of targets. No, thank you. These type of cards, again, if someday one of them is good, I will be all right, now we can start looking out to see if these can actually be good. They're not. They're just, this one's 2 mana. Nice, fantastic. It does have synergy with the threaten effect. Cool. 6 mana, and that's great. That's a great little combination you got there, but it's just, you need to be able to do the thing so often that it just is not. It's just so hard to get to do what you want. Mostly. Next, Oxida Finisher. 5 red for a 7/5. Affinity for equipment and trample. So shout out Affinity. Noted Affinity deck. First of all, this art is incredible. I just want to say, I want to mention that because this art is top tier. Look at that. Look at that guy's suit of armor. I love to see it. Anyways, I don't think this card's that good. It's just a large dude. Does it threaten to end the game? Yes, it threatens to end the game for 7 mana because you're never playing equipment in your deck because all the equipment sucks. Except for maybe the red equipment is much better than the white equipment, but it doesn't make it good. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems. Oh, nope, I found a flaw in the artwork. Oh, no. I'll never be able to see it. Actually, no, I didn't find it, because that's actually just the hand that doesn't hold a spear, so it doesn't need to be flexible or whatever. I don't know. It's got different armor on different arms, because it's got, one's holding the big stick, and the other one's just, a big arm that attacks. I don't know. Next, Rebel Salvo. 2 in a red for an instant. Affinity for equipment. More of that stuff. Yeah. Deals 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker that permanent. Loses indestructible until end of turn. This is phenomenal. This type of removal is always really, really good. This one's even instant speed. Yeah, this is always tier 1 removal. It's hard to come by stuff that's this good. And this is very good. So. Next, Red Sun's Twilight. X red for a sorcery. Destroy up to X target artifact. If X is 5 or more. For each artifact you control. For each artifact destroyed this way, you can create a token that's a copy of it if you want. The tokens gain haste, and then you exile them for reasons. So. I don't know. This thing just sucks a little bit. There's never enough targets for it to be good, and then even if it's does the thing, it still only gives you stuff for 1 turn. And I don't know who this is for. I don't know what this card's for. I genuinely don't know. So someday someone will tell me, and I'll be able to figure it out. But I don't know. Next, Resistance Skyward and 3 red for a 5/5 Menace Reach. That's it. That's the whole complexity of the card. It's just got decent, strong text on it. But usually cards like that are just tier 3, just playable cards. It's the flavor text is a reference to a card from Scars of Mirrodin called Ogre Resistor. I like that because of, reasons. But yeah, it's a reference to older flavor text, which is nice. Next, Sawblade Scamp. Single red mana for a 1/1 haste. When you cast it on creature spell, put an oil counter on it. Remove an oil counter from Sawblade Scamp. It deals 1 damage to each opponent. I actually kind of want to move this to tier 1, but the problem is it's so easy to remove that I'm not going to do that. Yeah, this thing is just really insane. Think about this, right? Similarly to this is another 1-drops the format right here. This is why 1-drops the format. Because you play this on 1 and your opponent's all right, I guess I'll just sign her to take 5 damage this game. Because you're just taking 5 damage. Your opponent plays this on 1, it's you see it and you're just am I spending a removal spell on this 1-drop? And the answer is maybe, because this thing's gonna hit you for 5. That's so, and if you get 2 of these, forget it. It's over. It's just over if you have 2 of these on the battlefield. You're just dealing so much damage. You got proliferate and all that stuff, all that good stuff. So. Yeah, this thing's just phenomenal. Next, Shrapnel Slinger. 1 and a red for 2/2, and it enters the battlefield. You may sacrifice a creature. When you do, destroy target artifact and opponent controls. So this only hits artifacts. I believe you can sacrifice this to itself if you want, and then that'll do the thing still, which is pretty good. Is it phenomenal? Not especially. It's fine. But it's not great or anything. The only hitting artifacts is not great. It's just a serviceable 2-drop. It's whatever. It's typical red. weird 2-drop that kind of does the thing sometimes. And then you're like, will it get there? And then it doesn't really get there, and whatever. Next, Slowbad, Iron Golem, 2 in a red for a 3/3. You can tap and sacrifice an artifact to add an amount of red mana equal to the sacrifice artifact's mana value. Spend this mana only to cast artifact spells or activate abilities of artifacts. No, this is not for limited. It's basically just a 3 mana 3/3. That's whatever. It's not a great card, but it's not completely embarrassing. I will never put this in my deck because it will be drafted higher than I'm willing to take it. Next, Sulfin, Mayhem Dominus. 2 red for a 5/4. If a source you control would deal non-combat damage to an opponent or a permanent opponent controls, it deals double that damage to that player or permanent instead. You can pay 1 2 red Phyrexian to put indestructible, discard 2 cards and put an indestructible counter on it. This thing's phenomenal. The rate is very good, and you can put counters on it, and then you just like deal tons of damage to your opponent. And like all those red 1-drops we just talked about are dealing double damage, and they're dealing now. It's like the clock is like doubled, and it's just like, oh my god, I'm dying to all of this stuff now. It's just so much damage this thing deals. Next, Thrill of Possibility. It's a reprint. 1 in a red for an instant. As additional cost to cast it, you discard a card and you draw 2. I have no reason to believe that this card will be any better than it usually is, and it's just tier 3, just playable card, not good, not especially embarrassing, but generally not something you especially want in your deck. Next, Urabrask's Anointer, 3 in a red for a 4/2. When it enters the battlefield, it deals X damage. Any target where X is the number of permanents you control with oil counters on them. This is good. These type of effects are always really, really good. Because you're going to have oil counters, it's just going to happen. Like, again, if you play those 1-drops, if you play this 1-drop, you're going to have oil counters on your 1-drops, hopefully. And then you're going to be able to cast this and deal like 1 or 2 damage to something. It probably pings, or in like a worst case scenario, you deal 2 damage to their face. Red doesn't really care about the whole toxic thing very much. Red kind of just wants to do good old-fashioned damage, face damage. So, it does a little bit of face damage sometimes. Next, Urabrask's Forge. So 2 in a red for an artifact. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you put an oil counter on it, and then you create an X1 red Phyrexian horror creature token with trample and haste, where X is the number of oil counters on it, and you sacrifice that token at the beginning of the next end step. So this just gets out of hand really fast, right? So like you play this on 3, and you uptick and get a 1/1, and then next turn you uptick, get a 2/2. But that's assuming you didn't like proliferate or something throughout. Like if you proliferate or you put other oil counters on this, you like accelerate this. It becomes like really like your opponent just like block or take 4 a turn, block or take 5 a turn. Just like it gets out of hand really fast. Like this thing, I think this thing gets out of hand so fast. Like it's just like, oh, I can't block these things anymore. Like it's like I'll take 1, take 2, and it's like now I'm at like 12, and this thing is making a 4/1, and I'm like, I kind of need to block that, right? It's kind of it becomes very problematic. Now, obviously, it is a card that does not block, and it is a card that is bad when you draw it later on in the game, or worse. It's still not like unplayably bad. So it loses. Like you need to be aggressive with this card, but it takes over the game if it's out early enough. Next, Vindictive Flamestoker. 1 mana for a 1/2. When you cast an uncreature spell, put an oil counter on it, and it has an ability 6 and a red. You can sacrifice it. You discard your hand and draw 4 cards. So generally, just to draw 4. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each oil counter on it. So yeah, this is very strong. You probably don't want to put too many you don't want to put your tons of oil counters on it, but incidentally, when you proliferate and stuff, they'll go on this guy, and that'll be great. So yeah, I don't know. That'll be solid. That'll be a good card. That's all. That's all we got, folks. Volt Charge, 2 in a red, instant. It deals 3 damage to any target, and you proliferate. So I see this card, and like originally when I saw this card, I was like, nope, this sucks, not good. It's like whatever, it's bad red removal. 3-minute deal 3 is just not enough. But then I was like, there's so many counters. Like there's so many counters in this set that like the proliferate, it's good. Like it's actually like this. Sometimes in games, this is going to be like hit your opponent for 3 in the face, and then it also proliferates, and then they take an additional like 5 or something. Like it's just really good. It's just really absurd. Like it's just absurdly strong. So yeah, like I think the proliferate is good enough for this to actually be a good card. Next, and this is the final card in red, is Volsock Splitter. 3 in a red for an equipment. It has 4 Mirrodin, so it's a 2/2, and a creature gets +2/+0. Equips for 2 in a red. I think actually this one could probably be like a tier 3, but again, the equip cost being so expensive, I just can't see you ever wanting to equip it to anything ever. And it just doesn't. Like, it entering was a 4, like, is a 4 mana 4/2 good? No, it's not especially good at all. It doesn't really do anything. Like, basically has no board impact. Doesn't have haste. You could have given it haste. Like, you could have given this like +2/+0 and has haste, and that would have been like fine. I think it's a common, but I think they just don't like it when equipment's good. They just don't like it. So, and yet they make themes about it every time. Whatever. All right, that's it for this this set review. Hope there was some enlightenment to be gained here. If you enjoyed it for whatever reason, feel free to watch the rest of them and receive similar levels of enlightenment about the cards in Phyrexia that I have not played with and know almost nothing about, from somebody who is just like a person. That's about it. So thanks for watching. Bye.